So over the weekend, we had Notting Hill Carnival, and police faced violence at last year's event with 349 arrests and reports of officers being kicked, punched, pushed, spat at, headbutted and pelted with bottles. Terrible stuff. And this year, 140 arrests were made on the first day alone. Is it time to, given sort of the low-trust nature of London, as many of us experience it, is it time to have a rethink of these sorts of events, safety and security?
I think there is, in general, unfortunately, in this country, a whole series of events all around us which are constantly either blocked from happening at all because of planning, or actually now there are extreme amounts of security required for even some quite mundane events. It's really surprising to me that Notting Hill Carnival has the level of violence it actually does when you consider, for instance, rules on anti-terrorism and otherwise. I think it's just this year or just last year, a flower show that's run for about 140 years is no longer able to operate because they have thousands of guests. And because of new anti-terrorism laws, it is so expensive to run the event because they need so many checks and CCTV and otherwise and so forth, that the regulations now prevent them from being able to run this. I think when we get to a point where it is difficult to run events full stop in this country and people are getting more and more miserable because of it, we do actually need to look at, are our laws, one, optimal for this, or are we stopping a bunch of events we want to take place? And two, how is it that events that should fall under this are still ending up with extreme amounts of arrests and some quite disturbing violence?
John, should we accept this kind of thing? Should we really be tolerating events that basically carry a guarantee of very serious violence, like Notting Hill Carnival?
I think, again, I'm going to be a bit wet and liberal here, but I think when you look at something like the Carnival and the numbers of people that attend, I think that they estimate about 1 million a day. Is it that different from an ordinary Friday and Saturday night across our major cities? Probably not that different. It's just concentrated rather than spread out. And a lot of police resources go in. A lot of these arrests, we don't know exactly what they were for. One of the things that we do sort of hear is it's partly the police go out because they know people they want are going to turn up to the Notting Hill Carnival. So it's not necessarily even something they've done on that day. And they were employing things like face recognition to keep, to monitor crowds and particularly look for known troublemakers. I think everything that we have in life and is enjoyable, as Lawrence says, comes with risks. And I think we have to look at absolutely how we best manage these risks, but in a way that is proportionate for the people involved. And I think, I would add, I can't think of a worse way personally to spend the bank holiday weekend than being at the Notting Hill Carnival. There is nothing about it that appeals to me. But for a huge chunk of London, it is a massive thing that forms a huge part of their year. You see people going in great spirits, traveling around on the tube as you try to avoid it. And, ultimately, I'd rather those things go on than not. Absolutely, we have to look at how to manage them. But, they come with risk. And, the optimum number of bad things happening is not zero. So we just have to manage that appropriately.
I do want to pick up on that it is extremely important that people are able to, we events have risks to them. Obviously, there is balance to be had. I don't know the specifics around exactly with the Notting Hill Carnival what the risk reward ratio is, but certainly events across the country right now are being cancelled, blocked, no longer happening. And this is genuinely making people more miserable. This is something where the country itself is in economic decline and we are making it worse and worse for people every single day. The cost of living is going up and they've got less things to do. This is something where we've got a bunch of regulation that's being piled on, and events that run at very, very close to the margin, often charitable, often don't raise a profit year on year, find themselves just having to shut down things that have gone on for centuries. This is really, really quite depressing and something the government needs to look at immediately. Otherwise, people's lives are just going to continue to get worse.
Yeah, and Lawrence, I think you're right in that the economy's in a terrible shape. young people are seemingly more miserable than ever, and events like Notting Hill Carnival bring a lot of people a lot of joy. And I'm pretty convinced that the majority of people who go there are going there in good faith to basically just have a good time and get a bit drunk. And is there not a danger by banning these kind of things? We essentially genuflect to the troublemakers. We accept that laws can't be enforced, and if anything, just kind of embed the sort of feeling of low trust that pervades our city.
I think it's true that like a lot of this is based on I mean, and as I say, I don't know the exact risk reward for this, but I certainly think as a general rule, the pattern in our country and by our government has been to make things steadily more difficult, and the perhaps unintended consequences of that are very wholesome events that can now no longer happen because the regulatory burden is so high and so expensive that they just simply no longer take place. That is not a good place to be. That is not what we, or anyone really, I'm sure, intended, but it's certainly the reality. And that just adds on top of all the fact that all the pubs we're seeing close. In general, we are seeing here a collapse in people being able to enjoy themselves. And that is something deeply concerning.